Hi everyone, welcome and thank you for joining us at the Doing Business Better. Today's topic is on training all staff to see wasted time and effort and how to solve problems. I'm your host Chandel. Before we begin, I just want to go through some housekeeping with you. You'll be put on mute during the presentation to reduce background noise and disruptions. Should you wish to ask a question, please raise your hand or type the question in the chat box. If you're dialing in, please press *9. The presenters ask that all questions are to be saved to the end. I'll now pass you on to Stephen Gretsch from Doing Business Better. Thanks, Stephen.
No worries, thanks very much. And welcome to those who are joining us that have been attending in past sessions. I hope you gained a lot from last week and the previous sessions. And for those that are joining us for the first time today, welcome. So today is the final part 9 of a 9-part series. And over those 9 sessions, including today, I've been trying to give you a number of tools and techniques you can use pretty much after this session or with a more advanced sort of looking into it to become more productive in your business and do things a lot quicker, a lot easier, improve customer experience, reduce costs to your business, engage staff to help become part of the solution on making the business a better business. And each session I've been giving you little tips and traits on how to do that. And today I'll give you a few more as we go along. We'll do the questions and answers a bit later on as we go along. So for those that aren't familiar with my company, Doing Business Better, we basically work with business to look at processes. A lot of businesses actually don't even have processes written down, it's in their heads. And a lot of people do things in different ways. So I help to come up with how you're currently doing it. Maybe people doing it in variable ways with variable standards and variable experiences, come up with the one way, the same way, the better way, so that you can really nail it and drive efficiency in the business, but also good experience for the customer. And that gives you a lot of referrals. And that ends up freeing up time for staff. You end up having good practices and we basically eliminate a lot of time that's wasted in business. And I'm always surprised at how much time businesses waste doing things they shouldn't be doing. So we look at those problems and make them go away forever so that you can become a more business competitive. Now, we've been going through all these sessions and I'm just ticking off in front of you now the 8 sessions we've ticked off so far. And today we're going through the final session, which sort of wraps it all up in how to train all the staff to see wasted time and effort and to solve process problems. And that's the bit about what I wanted to focus on today, is about the sustainability of doing all this. So each of those webinars that we've had, the colours in red is the sort of the first batch. You know, we really looked at giving you some tools and techniques. So if you've been attending all these sessions, you'll understand about how to understand the value from the customer's perspective, the template for really capturing the voice of the business and the critical items for the business, really the importance of understanding how you're currently going, what's your current measurement. And you can go back to some of these webinars at your own leisure. And if you don't have targets, then what targets should you have? That's really understanding how you're currently going. And then I elevated it to, well, how do you analyse your process and how do you work out where you do waste time, where there's opportunities to do things a lot better. That's why the company's name called Doing Business Better. And how do you solve these problems so they go away and you reap the benefits of doing things a lot quicker, a lot faster with better quality. So we went through a variety of things like mapping your process, estimating the cost of a poor process, problem solving, 5 whys, cause and effect diagrams, right through to some 5S visual management techniques. And then the last sort of sessions, the last 2, and this one being the third of the third set, which makes it 9, is, you know, how do we make this the culture change? How do we make this stick? And what are the 5 key steps? How do we do continuous improvement with staff for them to sort of do PDSA, plan, do, study, act? And today is about training and developing your staff. Previously, we talked about the 5 steps. So the first step in the middle, top middle, is really getting the management on board and really wanting to do this. There's no point in doing it if management aren't on board, because then staff wouldn't have the time to do this. And then we need to figure out on number 2 is what are the key things we need to focus on first. I mean, why start working on improving the processes. It's not broken. Why don't we work out which one's the best ones to work on, which nails it for you and gives you the best returns. And third step was about, well, a lot of people just jump into it and higgledy-piggledy approach. Well, the best way to do this to get the best results for your bottom line is have a plan in place, and then we've got to train staff and then do the projects. So just to recap, for those that didn't attend the last week's session, it's really important that the owners, the managers, whoever, the team leaders, supervisors, really are buying into this, because they want the place to be a better place. They want it to be a lot smoother, a lot more productive. It's really important to understand what lean business improvement principles are all about, so that they get it and then they can give people the time to be able to save the time and understand what tools and techniques we use. And the next level that we talked about last week was, just to recap, is, well, okay, you're the owner, but we need some people to drive all this. We need people to lead this with the other staff. Even if you're a smaller business or a medium or large, you need some people that understand the tools and techniques, and they need to learn these tools and techniques to be able to do it with the staff that they have. And then it's really getting the staff involved and training all the staff to see where we can do business better. We want to find out what drives them out, what frustrates them, how does it really work. So what we want to be able to do now is to train all the staff in how to see wasted time and effort, and what is causing them to waste their time, what's causing them to be frustrated, what annoys the crap out of them. We want to know all that. Best way to do that is to teach them how to see different things or activities that frustrate them and that cause them wasted time and effort. And they principally are, there's a lot more, but I'll just give you a snapshot today. It's teaching about how to realise that we transport things from one place to another, and sometimes we don't need to. We go back, I gave the example a few weeks ago where, I go to the site, I start setting up and realise I haven't got all the equipment, so I have to drive to a hardware store to buy more stuff and then drive back. That's transporting to and from. And if you start adding up how many times you do that and how much time you're wasting, not on site, but driving around, it's amazing how much time we're doing when we should be actually on the tools rather than driving around collecting and delivering. Inventory, we spoke about that, and I won't go through all these again, but we want staff to realise that, we do have things work in progress and things are stalled. We walk around too much. We should have our tools with us rather than walking around looking for things, searching for things. And how much time do we spend for searching stuff? It's amazing how much time we're actually walking around looking for things or asking others rather than actually doing the work. So waiting, we want people to understand that waiting, no one wants to wait. So what's contributing to waiting? What's contributing to a delay in some of these, the work that we're doing? And then we've got over processing, performing work that the customer really doesn't value. And sometimes we do things over the top. We think that's fantastic, but actually the customer wants it at level X, and we've done it, the Rolls-Royce version, but they only wanted X. So anything in excess of that, we need to do the other work. We consider that as not adding any value. It's actually going over the top. Overproduction, completing work more than the customer requires, or conducting work before the customer is ready. We consider that as an opportunity to improve as well. Defects, where do we do some errors and mistakes, omit things, which cause rework and double handling, maybe actually even using more consumables and supplies than we should have to do that job, which even might lead to a running out because we thought we bought enough, but now we need extras because we made a mistake, cut the wrong hole, cut the wrong size, whatever it might be. So, and staff skills, we don't grab the ideas of staff, what a waste that is. So it's really important for staff to learn how to see these type of things. But this is just a snapshot of some of them. But when they start to see and understand and get this, they go, yeah, we have this, we have that. We take things, I do drive around, I do look for my tools, I do run out of things, and so on and so on and so on. When they get this conversation, then they start to realise, we have this and we have that. And then we ask, how often does that happen? And they go, X amount of times, and we spend 10 minutes doing that 5 times a day, that's 50 minutes. But there's 10 guys, so you're losing 4 or 5 hours a day across your team. What's the point of doing that? And that's only just one example. So we want to really understand your current process. So we want to be able to map out. You need to be able to map out the start of your process from the top row, from the left to the right, different colors of different people, be manager, team leader, client, electrician, I don't know, whatever else it might be. And you realize, boy, it takes a lot of steps. Each sticker is a step. And we realize, geez, there's a lot of going back and forward. You know, you might see lines going all the way backwards because, you know, in the middle, at one point, we go all the way back nearly to the start because we didn't have something, and then we go back and do it again. Or we call back for more information when we didn't ask the right question the first time. What we want to be able to do is go to a lot quicker, a lot easier, with less time involved, to free up labour to do more jobs. And then you can grow your business. So we need people to learn how to use these techniques. And you've got team leader supervisors that might be the people that drive it, but you want staff to be involved in these sessions to understand what's going on, because it's going to make their job easier. And when they realise that you're listening to them to find out how to make their job easier, they love it. And they start coming up with great ideas, but they need to learn about those different forms of waste that I mentioned before, plus more, because then they're really involved in all this. So we need to train all staff in, don't have to be leading it, because that could be just, you know, one or two people that will drive it, but just be part of it, because then they'll start telling you how it actually works. And then we can start working out, why has it happened that way? What can we do differently? And we need staff all trained in how to identify and discuss the opportunities, so they feel comfortable about telling, well, actually, you know, I don't do it that way, I do it this way. You know, actually, you know, that I have problems all the time with this and that and the other. Yeah, it happens all the time. All these comments come out. And when you drill into that, when someone says, yeah, that happens all the time, well, we want to know why. Why does that happen all the time? Whatever it might be. And then what's causing that? What's the root cause of that? So we can come up with some solutions and discuss, well, if we tried this and tried that, how would it work? When you need to train staff in not just, there is this thing called process mapping, and identifies all the steps we go through, maybe all the steps we shouldn't be doing, but because we're doing it a long, windy way. But then once we've got that map that we saw before, well, how do we analyse it? And there's probably about 40 different things. I'm just giving you a snapshot of some of them. We need to look at, do we have rework double handling? Do we do things, look at the first thing, first out type thing? Do we fast track things or not? Do we have replenishment systems? How do we avoid errors? You know, do we have checklists, whatever it might be? We start looking at, do we have a two-bin system, make sure we don't run out of supplies, consumables? A lot of people, you know, they use barcode systems and electronic systems. That's fine, but, you know, there's other ways of doing it without spending any money. Just having error proofing Kanbans and two-bin systems, that can make a huge difference. So they need to be aware of it. They don't have to be gurus in this, but they need to be aware of it, so then they can say, well, if we did this and we did that, now we know how much mucking around we go through, we can make this process a lot better. So they need to know these techniques. And when they do, then they start saying, well, you know, we could try this, we could try that. And they start coming up with solutions. So it doesn't have to always be the boss works out how to fix this. What we want is all these brains in the room to be working actively to start coming up, well, we should try this, we could do that, this is the problem we have, how can we solve it? We want people to be actively involved. And when you approach it that way, they get really engaged and want to start fixing things, make work better for themselves, but also makes it more productive for the business. We need to teach them about how to effectively use that Plan, Do, Study, Act that we touched on last week, so that we can do continuous improvement and drive that through the business. And if you recall, for those that attended last week, you know, we want to work out how we go from 36 minutes or hours to do a particular job and drive that down to 32, 26, 18, down to the target of 10. Plan, Do, Study, Act is something and teach your staff about doing that. And then they will be more actively involved in contributing to coming up with a better process. Instead of the big clunky long one, we want to work out, how do we take out activity and steps and not adding value, so we're doing things a lot quicker and a lot easier. So instead of taking 40 steps or 40 hours to do something, it's going to take a lot quicker and a lot less time, and it makes the job easier and the client gets a better outcome. And it's really when we start doing this, staff work as a team, and this becomes very much a team building exercise as well. So not only is staff upskilled, but also they work better together, they learn together and they work together. And training them in the principles of lean and some of the tools and techniques, it's actually a staff building activity. And that's a really great side product of all this. But also makes their job easier and also makes their job safer. And instead of them looking for things and searching for things, we use the 5S technique. So instead of things being all over the place and you're looking in your cupboards and you're looking in your shelving and in your maybe in your sheds and whatever you might have, we're making things an organised visual workplace with lines, colours and labels, so it's easy to find, it's easy to grab what you need, and you can see when you're running out, so you can avoid run-outs. So 5S is a good technique, and therefore when this really works well with them, they actually get right involved in it and start to be actively involved in making work a lot easier. So the important bit here is about training people to be part of this. And when they get frustrated and they tell you what drives them mad, that's a great opportunity to save time, to make the process a lot clearer, a lot easier for people. Because what we're trying to do is find out what frustrates them a lot of the time. And what frustrates them is obviously very annoying for the customer as well. So if we can tap into the staff's brain as to how the process works, where it doesn't work, where do you go back and forward, where do you chase rework, double handle, all those things, what part of the process gives you grief, then we've got an opportunity to make the work a lot better. And when we're doing that, we're changing the staff's attitude. We're changing the staff's attitude and culture towards, well, we want to be involved in how we can make this better and better. And when you start doing that, then the staff really get involved in this and start contributing more and more ideas on how we can do this a lot better. And we would set up a problem-solving board. So when the problem happens during the day or the week, let's look at what caused it and what can we do differently, and what interventions we can put, what error proofing can we put in place so that the problem doesn't occur again. And once we've got a really good process, and I think I touched on it a week or two ago, then that's when we create those really good standard operating procedures and train people in the new process, which is a lot more efficient, a lot more productive, and therefore any new staff member comes on board, this is how we do it. We don't expect you to come up, make up your own way. We want you to follow these steps, and if you follow these steps, we're doing it the best way possible and achieving the best outcome for the customer. So if we do all that, a bit like the video I showed in one of the earlier sessions, or actually it's a bit of a story about the company I worked with, where as he quoted, they saved thousands of hours. Free up your capacity by improving your process. Improve your process by mapping out your process. Map out your process and get your staff involved to look at where the problems are, to work out why that's happening, and free up time. Free up time, get more sales, and you got your staff freed up time to do more work. When we talked previously, we used different techniques like mapping. And just think of your own business, and this was an electrician's business. There's lots, when we started mapping out the steps and finding out what's going on, we found in this case, and this is the real life thing, 40 hours saved up, or 1 day a week, 1 whole week saved up a year of a person's time. We then found $144,000 of savings of time and effort in another part of the story. Then we found another $19,000 of staff time saved. Then we found another $300,000. And this is all just from one business. So if you do follow the path of trying to improve your process, then it's really important that there's staff are aware of the techniques, they're involved, and they can start coming up with solutions. In this case, they saved $85,000 every year just on a couple of parts of the process. In this case, they saved $25,800 in an early part of their process. So what's really important is there's really huge benefits in teaching your staff to improve the process and them start identifying where things can be done better. in having management on board and having supervised team leaders lead this, to be trained in how to work with the other staff to do this all the time. You will free up staff's time, you'll reduce your costs, you'll improve your customer experience, you become more productive, work's easier, work's safer. It's all part of a good news story and a proactive business. Therefore, everybody wins when we do this. Staff win, the business wins, the customer wins. So, please contact me if you'd like to discuss how I can assist you implementing improvements in your business and help you become more productive, more efficient, more profitable. We work across all of Victoria and interstate as well. So I'll pass it back to the main head office, and if you put some questions, I'm happy to answer them for you.
Great, thanks Stephen for that interesting presentation. I found the content really useful and hope that our listeners did too. If you have any questions or comments, please raise your hand now or type the question in the chat box. You're more than welcome to remain anonymous. If you feel comfortable, please introduce yourself. Just during your presentation, Stephen, we did have a couple of other questions that came through. The first one is, I think training my team in how to see work that wastes their time and the business money would be a good thing. Can you do the training? We are based in Bendigo.
Well, definitely we can do the training and support you. If you're in Bendigo, well, I work, I've got a job up in Wedderburn, which is another hour north of Bendigo, in Cobram, Bannockburn, Colac, Bairnsdale. So the answer is yes. So we go everywhere and we go work on site. That's where we can see how your operations work, and we travel all across Victoria and interstate as well.
Great. Another question that popped up is, I have watched all of the webinars and I understand now how the process management you've been talking about would make a difference to my business. Can we get together and discuss my circumstances as well as what would be the best way to go about implementing this process across my business?
Yeah, look, I'm more than happy to get together, and that's what I usually do, is really come over to the business, have a look and find out where you're at and what you're trying to achieve and what's the best way forward with it. Yeah, in the climate that we've got now with the coronavirus, happy to talk on the phone, do Skype, FaceTime, Zoom, whatever. When it's appropriate, we'll get together, because then it's important that you meet me and be comfortable with me and my approach, my style, all that sort of thing. I'm very much a people's person, so really engage with staff to relax and work out together a better way of improving the business operation. So my details are here for a call or an email, and then we can take it from there and chat on the phone or do a FaceTime, Skype or Zoom or whatever else.
Great, fantastic. And also another question is, we have pretty good processes, but we do everything manually. We record jobs on paper and we write everything down. How would I go about saving thousands of hours like the guy you spoke about in an earlier webinar?
Well, if you're pretty much similar to that fellow, which is had a manual processing, paper-based, I'd go in there and do similar things that I did with him, and that is to map out together your key end-to-end processes, work out all the steps you go through. What is your manual paper workflow? How do you order? How do you schedule jobs? How do you do quotes? All that sort of thing. Map it all out to come up with an electronic workflow. We've got a partner with another company that's got the app, and it's about 20% the cost of the American versions of the apps, and we do an electronic workflow. So then you've got a handheld device, you schedule your jobs, all the techers know when they're scheduled. It's got time allocated for travel. It's got reminders to make sure they're there on time. It's got their timesheet, so they just do it electronically. You can tap and pay. You can do the quotes electronically, pretty much in the car. By the time you finish your measurements, whatever you might do, it's magnificent sort of stuff. So it's really have a chat and discuss about, what's your priorities, and we start mapping out the process to come up with, help you come up with the electronic workflow, similar story to the person you saw on the picture with who saved 1,000 hours. You could be one of them.
Great. And a couple of other questions have come through. First one is from Alex. What sizes of business do you help? We have 8 staff and looking for some help in the building process and making things more efficient within the business.
Okay, well, the fellow that you saw on the photo who said he saved thousands of hours, he had 7 people. So I think you said you've got 8. So I work with companies that have got 3 people, 2 people, right through to bigger companies as well. They've got 50, 60, 70. So it's all about the process, and it's all about working together to really understand how your process does work, and talking to the team about what drives them mad and what frustrates them, and then you find out some really great stuff. So size of 8 is a really good fit for style and the example you saw with the fella that saved thousands of hours. And we're happy to have a chat about it. So my number's there, email's there, the ball's in your court. Let's have a chat.
Great. And Alex has another question. We only have myself and my wife in the office. The rest of the guys are in the field. So not sure if we are big enough to implement something.
Well, you're representing, I think, Alex, the video, and you might want to look it on YouTube. It's Sandman Electrics on YouTube, and you'll see the story there. So it was him and 2 other ladies in the office, and the rest of the techos were on the job in the vans. So it's the same sort of thing. It's not to do with the size of the business in terms of number of people. It's about your process and your workflow to understand what are the steps you go through. Do you fall in the same sort of category where you schedule jobs, you roll up late, you forget to do on the quote, it takes too long to do the quote, and then they ring you up and you're spending more time answering the phone. If you've got any of those sort of same stories, people chasing you for the quote, or you forget to send them this and then they go elsewhere, all that can be avoided, and you would be pretty much in the same boat as Sandman Electrics from the story that you saw. So I'd encourage you to give it a yell and have a conversation on the phone anyway.
Okay, great. Thanks for your questions, Alex, and thank you, Stephen, for taking the time to speak to our members today. Thank you to all those that took the time to join us as well. Recordings will be available if you want to rewatch them or share them with other members of your team. The next webinar will be next Wednesday. We do have a schedule on our website with all the presentations that are coming up. So please check it out, and please register even if you can't attend, as we'll be sharing the recordings with you. So thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your day.